These are our life's aha moments from the perspective and experiences of two Christian women who are focused on creating a deeper relationship with Jesus Christ.
Join us as we share and discuss insights we have learned and provide tools to empower you on your journey of intentional creation. Welcome to another episode of Ahas, Awakenings, and Applications. I am Leann.
And I'm Melissa.
Thank you for choosing to share some time with us today. We are grateful for your support and would like to ask you to help us expand the reach of our podcast by subscribing, following, and sharing it with others. Today, we are going to be talking about our actions and how they affect others and the impact that we can make with our actions. So we all know that every day we make thousands of choices, and those choices actively shape our lives. And those choices that we make always have consequences, whether they are positive or negative. And we can have influence over other people, even people that we may not even know. And I've been thinking a lot about my actions and how they affect others a lot this last year, as I've been working on building relationships and doing better at making connections with other people. And I've noticed that there are a lot of mistakes along the way on my part and on other people's part. And I think that I've come to realize that is just part of building relationships, that sometimes there is going to be maybe some friction. But there's also really a lot of joyful moments in that too. And so I have come to realize that it's worth the effort to take action and try to build relationships and be a positive impact on other people. And sometimes it can be really hard. There can be a lot of hardships. And sometimes we may not see things resolved right away. Sometimes they don't turn out the way that we want. But I think there's a lot of things that we can do to improve the actions that we do take and improve those interactions and that impact that we do have on other people. And I think about those people who sometimes we hear about people who've left a really great legacy by all the good works that they have done throughout their life. And I want to be one of those people who I can look back over my life and say, I've done my best and I've been able to impact people. Whether I don't necessarily care if it's something that is well known by a lot of people, but just those people who know and love me, that they can say that I have impacted them in some great way, whether it's small, doesn't have to be a big thing, just small things.
Yeah, I was recently at a funeral, and the woman that had passed away, she had a legacy of family that were there, and all of her children that spoke. Just, the wonderful legacy that she left with her family, and all the things she did for her family, and her whole life was lived for her family. And I go to those funerals, and you think, oh, what have I left for my family? What am I doing right now that will have an impact on my family and others around me? And it always kind of makes me think about that. What are the choices that I'm making right now that will have a lasting impact? And I've actually been thinking about that a lot also the past year of we have aging parents, and just seeing how my choices are affecting them, how their choices are affecting our family. It's just so interesting to kind of see the dynamics of things. And we have a lot of older people on our ward. And I've just been taking notes of things that I want to do when I'm older, or things I don't want to do when I'm older. And because what I am choosing now will make a difference in a few years, in 20 years.
Yeah. So I was looking for a good story and I was reminded of the story. You'll remember this. Elder Stevenson gave a talk in 2021 at General Conference called Hearts Knit Together, where he told the story about rabbits Do you remember the story about the researchers in 1970? They set up an experiment to examine the effects of diet on heart health. And so they took all these rabbits that had the same genetic makeup and they fed them all the same foods, these high fat, not healthy foods for them. And then they took a look at their heart health. And some of these rabbits, most of them had the heart issues that they expected, but there was one group that didn't. And they couldn't figure out why, because they all ate the same food. Everything that they thought should be there was there. And so they went back and tested again, and they got the same results. So then they started looking at the people who were feeding them. And they
Mm.
found that this one person, this one woman who was feeding this particular group of rabbits that didn't have heart disease, that she would give them love. Like she would talk to them when she fed them, she would hold them,
Oh,
and they found out that was what made the difference for these rabbits.
oh
It
my word.
had everything to do with, what she was doing extra, where all the others were just feeding them. They didn't give them this attention. And I just think that's such a great example of
Mm,
us as people that, when we go about our day, are we just going through the motions without acknowledging people, without being able to share the light that we have that can
hmm
bring into people's hearts and heal those hearts? And it doesn't have to be big things. Like this woman had no idea that she was
mm,
affecting these rabbits in this way that actually affected their testing. So that really made me think of I went back to what President Nelson, some invitations that he gave us, and he
mm,
was very well known for invitations, and he invited us to interact with others in a higher and holier way.
hmm
And he counseled us to lay aside bitterness, to stop doing things that make others walk on eggshells, which I think we all know people like that. And he said it's time to bury your weapons of war.
I remember that.
And he said, now is the time to put away your verbal arsenal filled with insults and accusations. And I think that's
Mm,
something very common and popular right now. And I love what he said here. He said, as disciples of Jesus Christ, we are to be examples of how to interact with others, especially when we have differences of opinion. One of the easiest ways to identify a true follower of Jesus Christ is how compassionately that person treats other people. The
mm,
Savior's message is clear. His true disciples build, lift, encourage, persuade, and inspire. No matter how difficult the situation, true disciples of Jesus Christ are peacemakers. And so I think we talked about that in our peacemakers episode. But I felt like that really fits very well with our
hmm
actions and how that affects other people. It really is a ripple effect. And I've
Yes.
always loved that idea when you drop a pebble in a pond and it ripples out. And so I think I think nowadays, especially, we forget that people are watching us, right? And that we can um, respond. Maybe something's happening that we don't feel comfortable with or don't like, and we can be the one that responds differently. We can be the one that stands up for truth, exercises gentleness and kind words.
hmm
Um, and I think that can make a huge difference for other people.
So I was reading some different talks this morning, and one of the talks I came across, I didn't actually write down who said it. I put that in
Uh-oh.
the show notes. It was, anyway, he said, in most encounters, we can determine the kind of experience we are going to have by how we respond.
Yeah. And I actually had some experience with this recently. I was in a situation and I wasn't treated very kindly at all. And this person was kind of yelling at me, and it surprised me. And this person tends to put people walking on eggshells
Mm,
just by the way this person is. And it was so interesting to me because I felt like, and maybe it had to do with where I was at too, but I was able to just be super calm. And I did stand up for myself, but I didn't do it in a yelling way. I didn't do it in an angry way. I did it so that I could still feel the spirit while I was in the middle of the
Mm,
situation. And
yes.
I could feel good about it when I walked away. And I did. I felt good about my part anyway. And
Hmm.
I wish I could say that I do that in all situations, but I don't. But when it does happen, it feels so good. And
Hmm.
I feel like I want to be able to do that more often, all the
Hmm.
time. And that really is my goal. And I have found that because of the things that a lot of the things that we have talked about over the last couple of years, as I practice them and apply them,
Hmm.
that it becomes easier to do. And it does happen more often. I surprise myself sometimes because I'm like, whoa, okay, that work has paid off. That work has paid
Hmm.
off. So there are things that we can do as I was thinking about, what are some tips that we can offer to our listeners that can help them to better think about those tips for kindness and in the actions that we have, because we do live in kind of a hostile time, right? A lot of things can be hostile. So a couple things that I thought of was, at the beginning of your day, you can set an intention of showing kindness,
Mm,
right? Like you can really have that in the forefront of your mind. How am I going to respond to the things that happen today? Think that makes a huge difference. Having intentions, as we talked about before, really makes a huge difference. We can also think about Jesus Christ and how he wants us to act
hmm.
and that example that he has set for us. Um, if we're, studying our scriptures and studying his life and teachings, those can be in the forefront of our mind, and we can have that help when we need it. We can also ask God to help us through prayer.
Mm,
And
definitely.
like right in the middle of that situation, right? You can
Yes.
just say, help me, I need help, or ask for angels to help you. I think that can just really help to diffuse a tense situation.
Hmm.
Um, and then there's, of course, all the little things that we can do, like just recognizing people, acknowledging people when we're out and about,
Yes.
right? Making that eye contact, maybe smiling or saying hello is so huge. I've noticed how many people do not even acknowledge other people. And
Hmm.
gosh, a smile can go a long way.
Yeah, it really does.
It can really go a long way.
I've been noticing I have kind of gone back to old patterns of go into the store, do my thing, leave. I haven't even talked to a single person.
Yeah,
So I'm like,
yeah,
oh, yeah, I need to get back to, just
yeah.
smiling even.
Hmm. Yeah, I think that's really important. I do that too. Sometimes I'm like, I've just got to get done what I need to get done, and I'm on a
Hmm.
time constraint. We can also just maybe acknowledge the people that we do know. Like we can send them a text and say hello or
Hmm.
ask how they're doing, or maybe find someone that you can give a compliment to. Um, and um, maybe we can hold a door open for somebody or pick up a piece of trash or just share a conversation with someone. I think that can be
Hmm.
fun sometimes when you feel like you can do that. And maybe just find someone that you can serve. Those are all just
Hmm.
simple ways that we can bring more light into our lives and share that light with other people.
Yeah. So Monday was Memorial Day, and I was at the cemetery, and it had been really windy that day, and people had put flowers out, and a lot of them had fallen over. And so I went around to the ones that were near where we were, and I just put them back up. It's
Oh,
like
yeah.
they spent money, they spent time, effort to come and to
Yeah.
put them there, and I'm just putting them back. There's just a
Yeah.
little thing, it wasn't any big deal, but
Right. And I think we forget, you know, my husband and I, we get a lot of traffic, like foot traffic now in front of our house. And we seem to have had lately people just dropping trash. And
hmm.
it's a little frustrating at times. And the other day, my husband went out there and somebody had dropped their fast food bag. And he picked it up and he said, well, this person's name is right here on the receipt. We know exactly who dropped this. I'm like, oh yeah. So my mind started thinking, what could I do with that? But I'm like, no, I'm just gonna throw it away, right? So he threw it away and let it go. And I think that's a good example of, those little irritations,
Hmm.
just letting them go and not seeking revenge, not shaming people on social media, which is really popular, but just letting it go and hoping that person will do better in the future.
Hmm.
But it's a good example of
Yeah.
being on the receiving end too. Like it's
Hmm.
not fun to be on that side of it.
Right. I just have been noticing, just been thinking more of how if I choose this, or how is that going to affect other, people around me, like especially my husband. And I've been realizing some of the choices that I make over and over and over and over probably isn't very helpful for anyone but me. So that's really selfish of me to be thinking of myself and not those around me. So I'm working on being more mindful of that. And then when I hear about someone else making a certain choice, and I think, why did they do that? And then I think, okay, kind of try and put myself in their shoes. If I know their situation a little bit, I'm like, oh, well, that makes more sense from that perspective than my own.
Yeah.
And then choosing my actions differently accordingly.
Yeah, I think it's really good to stop and think about that because we tend to benefit ourselves, but not other people. But,
Hmm.
sometimes when something happens, we might make up a story in our head of why they did it, which often isn't a very good one. But if we can just flip that and say, well, maybe they had something they were in a big hurry to get to and they're running late.
Hmm.
Maybe something happened. And so giving that person the benefit of the doubt can really make a big difference. So if you're going to create a
Hmm.
story, please create a story that will benefit that person instead of tear
Right.
them down. Because we
Exactly.
do that for ourselves, right? We create stories for ourselves that benefit us. And
Hmm.
so it would be great to be able to do that for others as well.
Yeah. So I'm a doer, and I like to have things planned out, and I like things to kind of flow. And so I usually I before I get out of bed, I'm kind of thinking about my day and what I'm going to do, and how I want to do it. And um, when things don't go that way, or someone else has another plan for me, I get a little upset. And I've been being more mindful of that and working on changing my attitude and changing how I feel, and so that my actions are not so selfish and helping other people, instead of just being on my own agenda.
Well, there was something you had told me, you had mentioned it in a few episodes ago. I don't know exactly how many episodes, but you said that you like to ask yourself a question of who impacted me today
Oh,
or
yes.
something similar. And
Yes.
that really touched me. And I've been thinking about that ever since you said it and trying to use that almost daily. And that has
Hmm.
really taken my gratitude, how you think of gratitude at the end of the day, it's taken that to a different level where it's helped me to focus more on the relationships rather
Hmm.
than the things. So,
Hmm.
yes, I'm grateful for a lot of things, but who, like what people? And I have really loved that question of who has impacted me today. It's made me recognize the good in people around me that maybe I wouldn't
Hmm.
have um, normally have noticed. And it's helped me to notice things, how it has blessed my life,
Hmm.
how they have blessed my life. And so just really love that question.
Yeah. And I love that thought of being a light for other people.
Yeah,
How am I impacting other people because of the
right,
choices I'm making?
right, right. We can flip that around.
And I think I do okay if I'm feeling really happy and having a good day. I think I'm doing okay. But the days that I'm like yesterday was not such a great day, and I was really tired, and I was just like, mm. I'm grateful I didn't interact with too many people yesterday, but I think if I had, I would have just said, maybe today's not a good day to talk to me.
Well, and I do think that, we all have our bad moments,
Hmm.
our negative moments, or our difficult moments.
Hmm.
And I think remembering to have grace for others and ourselves, that
Hmm.
self-compassion, it's a normal part of life. Those emotions that
Right,
we have
right.
are
Yep.
normal. And oftentimes we have no idea what's going on in other people's lives. And so often when people are unkind, I like to think, well, maybe there's something more going on in their life that I'm not aware of.
Hmm.
So giving them that benefit of the doubt.
There was a quote that I came across, see if I can find it. So it's like kind of going, I was just thinking about yesterday, and the one I interacted with was my husband. And so we had a situation we were trying to work through. Anyway, so this just reminded me of this quote that I read this morning. It says, "It is in the home that our behavior is most significant. It is a place where our actions have the greatest impact for good or ill. Sometimes we are so much at home that we no longer guard our words. We forget about simple civility. And if we are not on guard, we can fall into the habit of criticizing one another, losing our tempers, or behaving selfishly. Because they love us, our spouses and children may be quick to forgive, but they often carry in silence unseen injuries and unspoken heartache."
Mm.
I'm like, ooh, that was me yesterday.
Oh my goodness. It makes me think about my children. I remember when my oldest was really little and he had spent time at my mom's for the day and he had come home and I couldn't figure out exactly what he was doing at first, but he would go to pick up a toy and he'd kind of hold his back and then pick it up and then he'd stiffen straighten back up and I thought, what's going on? And then I realized that my mom would have a stiff back and she would make these noises, and he thought that's what he was supposed to do. And have you ever seen like when one of your children when they're little and they do something and you're like, "Oh my gosh, that's what I do. I better be more
Mm-hmm.
careful," right? And so
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of what it made me think of is we don't always know who we are affecting, especially children who are so impressionable.
Oh yeah.
Hopefully, when we do make those mistakes that we can stop and apologize and explain what
Mm-hmm.
maybe, talk about how that could be better. It's okay. And I think that's what we really want to do is be able to um, make it right and be that example
Mm-hmm.
because it's not going to be perfect so many times. And
Yeah.
I'm grateful for those who are very forgiving.
Yes. Yes. I think that's kind of the flip side of this whole thing is making sure that we're forgiving
Yeah.
and we're forgiving others so that hopefully others people can forgive us
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
we're all we're all in this boat together.
We really are. And, I think being careful what we watch and what we're seeing,
Mm.
especially on social media, there's so much that glamorizes the
Hmm.
negative actions and pointing out, everybody makes mistakes. And if we were to point out every mistake on social media and handle it the way that we're being encouraged to, nobody would have friends, because we are human. And so I think it's really important to be careful and
Hmm.
not follow the ways of the world and really look to our Savior and his
Yes.
example of how he handled all situations. And he will give us power and strength to do that. And he can
Hmm.
always turn those things in for our own good. Sometimes we have some hard lessons, but um, being willing to take a look at that and see what we can do better.
Yeah, I just love, just reading about I mean, as we're reading the Old Testament this year and just seeing his tender mercies and the mercies that he shows the children of Israel and he's showing us
The
and the
patience.
patience. Oh man, you know, we're all just learning and figuring things out the best we can and living in this natural body, natural man body.
Right.
Um, it's just a process and we're all learning and growing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Then giving everyone
So,
else the benefit of the doubt as
yeah,
well.
exactly. So my invitation, I think the invitation that would be so great to invite our listeners to is this question: what will you do today that can make a positive impact for someone else? So find that
Mm,
way that you can be an impact for someone else.
I love that.
Well, thank you,
And
Melissa.
yes, I was thinking, okay, I should add that instead of just thinking about it at night, who impacted me, just asking myself that question in the morning. How can I
Yeah,
impact someone else today?
yeah, I think that would be so great. I'll have to try that too.
Yeah. It's like, yeah, shift that around.
Maybe we can report on that next time.
Yes.
All right. Well, thank you, Melissa. This has
Thank
been
you, Leanne.
wonderful.
It has. Join us for our next episode as we discuss God's hand in the Constitution and Bill of Rights, the purpose of government, and how to be mindful of the rights we have and ways to protect them. If you enjoyed this podcast, please follow or share with others so we are easier to find. Check out our show notes for each episode in your podcast app or YouTube, and join us on Instagram for more daily content at Awakenings Podcast.